En el nombre de Allah, el benéfico, el misericordioso. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I want to greet our brothers and our sisters here in Chicago, or wherever you may be watching us this morning in the greeting words of peace, which we say in the Arabic language. Assalamu alaikum. I wanted to give you just a quick report this morning. As last week I was blessed to be in El Paso, Texas, for the funeral services of a great friend of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, a Chicano-Mexican warrior and what they called one of the four horsemen of the Chicano activist movement, Mr. Reyes Lopez Tijerina. A name that if you Google him, a lot of weird information may be out there about him. But he was a friend of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Reyes Lopez Tijerina, a name, what they called one of the four horsemen of the Chicano activist movement, Mr. Reyes Lopez Tijerina. A name that if you Google him, a lot of weird information may be out there about him. But he was a friend of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. This beautiful man, I just want to give you a little bit of information about him because there's really a great disservice that we as members of the Nation of Islam and black people, and that we as Mexicans and Chicanos don't know the rich history of some of our warriors. I'm not talking about pre-Columbus, I'm talking about in this last century that passed. In the generation of our fathers, in our generation, we don't know our modern history. This beautiful man started his own, if you will, colony with his followers because he wanted what he called Indo-Hispano, what you today would call Latino or Hispanic children, out of the schools of the enemy. Because he felt that the enemy's school system indoctrinated our young people with fear of the enemy. And this fear was a great crutch to us, which would not allow us to stand up to the enemy. So they robbed us and took our lands, which they wrote in their treaties belonged to the Mexican people. They broke their own treaties, and we didn't know how to stand up to them until this beautiful man, Reyes Lopez Tijerina, went and researched, went all the way back to Spain to get the original treaties and acts showing that the land still belongs to the Mexican people. But when you look in the Southwest today, what used to be Mexico today is still what we call the United States of America, because our people are still fearful and still divided. I was blessed to go down into El Paso, which borders with the city of Juarez in Mexico. It's a border city. It's really Mexico. The culture of the people, the language that the people speak, the way that they live, but they're cut off from their uncle or their aunt by an imaginary border set up by an enemy of both of our people. And if they cross to visit their grandmother, they may not be allowed to come back in because an enemy says you can't cross that border that once was all yours and legally is still all yours. These beautiful people, all praises due to Allah. When I went down there, we were received, knowing that we came representing the Nation of Islam, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, as an extension of black people in America. We were received with such honor and joy by those Mexican people that the media has you thinking hate black people. That's a lie, because we witnessed the love they have for black people through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the love that they showed. The media would have you think that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is some little narrow black civil rights leader. No, he's a man guided by God to free the people of God, regardless of their color, regardless of their condition. If anyone will hear this truth with an open heart and open mind, we will be affected. I have to stop and just thank our beloved Mother Tainetta Muhammad, because it was through her joining and bringing back to our consciousness through her articles in the Final Call newspaper, our connection to one another as an indigenous and black people, and in particular, her rejoining us with this beautiful brother, Reyes Lopez Tijerina. who over the past few years, when his health was good enough, he traveled all the way to Chicago to share in Savior's Day's activities with us, because he said that we, the black people in America and the Mexican people, are one people, and we're the heirs of the promise of God. How come we don't know this kind of man? How come we've been deprived of this kind of knowledge? My favorite quote of this beautiful leader, as I prepare to leave you, because I'm anxious to hear from Student Minister Ishmael this morning as well. He said that this was and is my hardest job. This is Reyes Lopez Tijerina speaking. He said, to clean up and awaken the consciousness of my brothers, to rescue them from their inferiority complex, and to remove their fear. We've all been conditioned to be afraid of the enemy of God and the enemy of self, because we've been deprived of the knowledge of God, the knowledge of self, and the knowledge of the enemy of God himself. What we're going to hear from Student Minister Ishmael Muhammad is that key knowledge which you and I have been lacking in. If we want to know how come black people, how come indigenous people, how come so-called Latino and Hispanic people, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Asian people, how come we always seem to suffer? How come we just can't seem to get together? It is because we've been given the wrong knowledge. And what you're going to hear from Student Minister Ishmael Muhammad today, from the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is that key and root knowledge which you and I need, that we could pull ourselves up on and stand against anything that we've been conditioned to fear, but we should not fear. There's no man on the planet that we, in obedience to God, should be afraid of. There's no human being on the planet that we, in obedience to God, should feel we have to cower against and just can't overcome. We've been fed the wrong type of teaching, and what you and I need today is not just something that'll make us thankful, not just something that'll make us grateful, but something that will empower you and I so that we can get up and be the mighty nation that God has called us to. Are you ready for that kind of message today? Be that without first knowing who God is, knowing who the enemy of God is, and knowing who we are in relation to that God. Wouldn't we agree on that? To know something means to be aware of something, to have experience, and then based off that experience, then have an idea or concept about that which we're encountering. If you look at our condition, we can question, do we really know God? Can we know God and our babies are dying in the streets? That's not the natural way of God. Can we know God and our women are suffering and afraid? That's not the natural way of God. Can we know God and call ourselves men, yet we're begging somebody else to do for us what we should and could be doing for ourselves? That's not the way of God. We've been tricked, we've been hoodwinked, we've been bamboozled, and today what we want to know from Student Minister Ishmael Muhammad is that truth which will free our minds from the grip of lies that the enemy has imposed upon us. I want to leave you with this quote in the spirit of Brother Reyes Lopez Tijerina from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that he put on Twitter about a year and a half ago, where he said the biggest thing to do in this time is to give the people the knowledge of God, self, and the enemy of God. There's nothing bigger than what we could do. And what we're going to hear today about God and the devil is going to then be big, because it's going to empower us now. If we really want to change, we're going to get access to that knowledge which will allow us to change and empower us to be the change. Not just pray and go and wait, but pray knowing that God has given us power and knowledge to now overcome whatever obstacles in our path. That's the kind of God and the kind of teaching you and I will hear today. Are you ready for that? Well, to take us further into the program, please welcome back to the rostrum Student Minister Jason Kareem. Assalamu alaikum.
Let's give another warm round of applause to Sister Kenya Muhammad and Brother Abel.
ask my Mexican and Puerto Rican and Latino family, don't reject wisdom and guidance today because you don't think it's part of you. Because you hear the language black today and you see yourself as Latino or Mexican or something else. What is that? Who made you Mexicans? Who made you Puerto Ricans? Who made you and I so-called Latinos today? And who is it helping for us to keep our mentality in that condition? I want to see us change our language because we're not Mexicans. We were here before Mexico started. We're not Puerto Rico because we were here before Puerto Ricans started. We were before Cuba, before Guatemala, before Ecuador, before Chile. Who are we? We are the original people of the planet, and so are you, black man, and we love you, and we will be in unity. For the benefit of all of our people, I only want us to make sure we're under the right guidance and the right word, and you're in the right house of God today. The real house of God, the human being who is manifesting the spirit and the wisdom and the language of God for all of the people of God. I thank you for this time to have just a few moments to share, hopefully, what I've learned from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for you. And I want to bring next to the rostrum a beautiful brother who I believe is a manifest living example of the unity of our people. A man who was raised the majority of his life in Mexico. So he may be one of your black brothers born in America, but he's my brother in spirit from our Mexican people who speaks our language and understands our suffering.
Those of us who speak truth to power, but have no power to have power, expect and accept the truth. So these conferences, I have to tell you, you just sharpen your sword, but you won't use it on them. You develop these tremendous arguments with your legal leaders. This is vanity. I'll show them. I'll go into court and show them how wrong they are. They hear your arguments, then they come down totally opposite the truth of your argument. Here's a man up, my dear brother. No president, and I'm not no president, and I'm not running from you or none like you. No president, and I'm not running from you or none like you. America been wrong as two left feet.
I think I am a nice person. People that know me like me.
Fine.
I'm really rich.
So what?
I'm not doing that to brag, because you know what? I don't have to brag. I don't have to.
You should be quiet.
I think I am a nice person. People that know me like me.
Fine.
I'm really rich.
So what?
I'm not doing that to brag, because you know what? I don't have to brag. I don't have to.
You should be quiet.
We have people that are morally corrupt.
You're not in any moral position to tell anybody how corrupt they are.
We have people that are selling this country down the drain.
How dare you put yourself in that position as a moral judge? I think you should keep quiet.
I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created.
Let's not play holy.
Can you believe this?
You should not be the one to talk. You should be quiet.
I think I am a nice person. People that know me like I think I am a nice person. People that know me like me.
Fine.
I'm really rich.
So what?
I'm not doing that to brag, because you know what? I don't have to brag. I don't have to.
You should be quiet.
We have people that are morally corrupt.
You're not in any moral position to tell anybody how corrupt they are.
We have people that are selling this country down the drain.
How dare you put yourself in that position as a moral judge? I think you should keep quiet.
I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created.
Let's not play holy.
Can you believe this?
You should not be the one to talk. You should be quiet. I'm looking for 10,000 in the midst of a million. Listen. I'm looking for 10,000 in the midst of the million.
Midst of the million.
10,000 fearless men. Death is sweeter than continued life under tyranny. I'm looking for 10,000 in the midst of a million. Listen. I'm looking for 10,000 in the midst of the million. 10,000 fearless men. Who say death is sweeter than continued life under tyranny. Death is sweeter than to continue to live and bury our children while white folks give the killer hamburgers. Death is sweeter. Than watching us slaughter each other to the joy of a 400-year-old. Death is sweet. The Quran teaches persecution is worse